All right, we are live. Let's get this party started. So let's start with the overnight session and kind of go over what happened, and then we will get into how today's going so far. Oh, what's going on here? There's music coming from somewhere, and I'm not sure where. The fuck? Somebody playing music? What is going on? Oh, my cam is on. It's just showing the back of my computer. Trying to figure out where this music's going. Morning, Peter. Morning, Chris, Ami, Jamie. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. There's some music playing on my end, but I don't know where from. It's starting to drive me insane. Like any web. Okay, there. Oof, it stopped. Thank God. That would freak out here. So weird. It's starting again. Like some like weird, like I don't know, some weird ass music. Some weird music I never heard. Like it's just like a melody, but weird. It's like elevator music kind of. Oh, it just keeps happening. Okay, hang on. Then it just said, okay, let's bring that beat back. What the fuck is going on? Like I have a widget playing music or something, but I'm not sure where it's coming from. It's not ideal though. It's annoying. All right, anyways, I'll just power through it. So, last night we can see we finished on the low. If you read the trading report, we talked about how this really looked like short covering. And the reason it looked like, or just looked like a liquidation and then just, shorts taking profit. Um, and any of the buying really was kind of, or any of the selling down here was kind of negated. It really was just liquidation. Sorry guys, I'm having a hard time focusing with this stupid fucking music in my background. I don't know where it's coming from. Slipstream, lower thirds. One of these plays music, I think. Etzel Rocks. This one? X. Oh my god, I found it. Thank God. Okay, so last night, or yesterday at the end of the day, we talked about how this liquidation, we marked these single prints, basically saying this is where the position was at, right? So if you have a bunch of longs liquidating, right, turning into sellers, and then you have additional sellers kind of piling on, trying to grab a piece of this downside, right? And then once we got down here, you can kind of see that every time it pushed back to the down wasn't necessarily any new selling. It was really just shorts taking profit, right? So anytime we got a bounce, it was just shorts buying the market back, and then anytime it kind of flushed down, all it was just short covering or liquidation. I'm all messed up. That music really threw me off. Anyways, we see the overnight session, right, tested below, pretty decent excess on the overnight session, pretty good volume, a very prominent point of control here, which happened to be right at the settle. Surprise, surprise. We opened up above these single prints, came back down, tested them. We were not able to get through them back to the settle or back to that prominent point of control. We had talked about how these single prints, if we opened above them, could act as support. They did, and now we're kind of off to the races. We had talked about some previous poor highs that are still up here that haven't, or weak highs that haven't been repaired yet. But as far as yesterday goes, um, there's really no weak references for the most part left that it hasn't uh, cleaned up. We uh, we can see we're still. Oh my God! It started again. Holy shit, guys! Why does it keep starting? Am I like saying something to get this music starting or what? Uh, Turn this off. Start again. Okay, there we go. But we can still see we're still in this balance, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Today's day number 6. We're in this balance area. Yeah, we had Globex kind of peak below it and turn back in. That could be the look below that it needed in order to get bought back up. This upside does feel fairly weak, if I'm being honest. It um, doesn't feel, it feels more like it's just that there's no selling and we're getting a little bit of buying here. You can see the volume um about 400,000 right now, still pretty light for the day. And then value obviously is you know, for the most part, you know, we can see we're trying to get accepted above yesterday's value area. Taking a peek at the volume, then I'm going to drag this over real quick. So we are on an increase of volume, just about 1% compared to yesterday. So nothing too crazy. We can see the weighted AD code, right? You're getting a lot of selling in the NYSE, but a lot of the buying was happening in the weighted sectors, right? This is what caused the market to go up this morning early on with, you know, kind of a divergence between the S&P and the Nasdaq, right? The Nasdaq took a little bit to catch its breath and then decided to pile on, and you can see where all the buying was at in the weighted sectors. You know, that information technology, this Apple, right? Apple's up 1.5%. We've got our big winners today: Amazon, Tesla, and then Nvidia is up 5%. Procter Gamble's up 3%, right? So there's a lot of things up. Oracle's up 4.5%. So we've got some big names in the top 100 that are doing pretty well. We can see the VIX here, if we zoom in, has been, for the most part, been getting beat down. It's getting close to that 30 level. Trying to get underneath of it. The tick distribution does seem to be pretty balanced as far as the selling and the buying. We did get, you know, a little overzealous on the upside, which is why we started to flatten out a little bit. But there hasn't really been any strong selling in the market today, which makes sense, right? Because we've just been kind of moving up all day. We do still have some single prints below this separate distribution down here in the A and B session. And now we're kind of hanging out above with C period not really able to take that high. We are getting some good volume up here, and they're, you know, really, and really we're just kind of in an interesting spot again where we're just kind of in balance, and really you just want to be looking for those you know, support and resistances, and paying close attention for your levels. The level that we're at now kind of has acted as a resistance throughout the week. We've seen a lot of volume come in through here, so it makes sense if people were shorting from these previous days, from, you know, this 42.20 and then the 42.35, right? This is key levels. You guys should remember the 42.20 level, even though we are on this new contract. It's about that same level that we had talked about that should act as support, and it did until, you know, until yesterday started to force that downside. So we should see some support start to build here. If we don't, a test of those singles is probably in store for us. And then, you know, that overnight point of control has a lot of opportunity, right? As far as the overnight inventory, it's a real tough one to call. You know, you might go 60-40 long and short. it's just tough, right? We spent a lot of time down here, a lot of volume, but also a lot of volume right above, and this it's the point of control is right on the settle, so it's a tough one to call. It's really pretty much probably just evenly mixed. So on the open, either way, could go. It looked to bid down towards that prominent point of control, and then just decided time to go up. So levels to look for on the upside, next level above here, this 19 and 20 level, right, acting as resistance for now. Above that, we have the 27, which was kind of our or 25, I mean, which is where that little chunk of volume came in before that sell-off yesterday. So about 25 to 27 here. We've got some decent volume, and then up the next target will be that prior day high. Putting a little pour high right here. There it goes, taking it by a tick. A lot of big things here. So remember, now we have good excess to the upside. Let's see if we get any volume continuation. 400 contracts traded on that upside. We are starting to see a little bit of buying coming in. It does look, fairly strong. So today, since we're just kind of chilling and just pretty slow, we can see, we'll do a little recap of Bitcoin. I was doing some analysis daily, so I put the 200 on. We had that kind of pop yesterday, push through, came back down, and now we're right back to that 39,136 level where we've just kind of been hanging out, right? So more at a dangerous spot to get involved with it unless you're just looking for short term. One thing that is, kind of interesting is we got back up into those sellers, right? We had talked about where all these sellers were at, so we moved this little area down. Let's move this, get bigger. We had moved this area down. They popped right in. Sellers came back in. Jam price back down, right? So now we can assume that they've moved up, and you've got some resistance built back from this level here. So there's going to be resistance all the way back up to the top of balance, and this thing's really just going to be, an extension of our bigger balance zone to the top. So the bigger players are tracking this and just basically saying, if you want it, you're going to really have to buy it. Seeing a little bit of volume here step up on the ES too. Looks like they want maybe take the price up a little bit higher. 432 contracts traded on that top tick. Actually, 75 contracts traded on that top tick. It's aggregating. So 75 and then 357. Looks like they want that high side right here. 500 contracts, 800, right? You're seeing some volume step up here. Make sure you take note of some of these weak spots. 2350, right? Kind of a weak spot. just in comparison to kind of what's around it, right? Seeing stacks of volume come in, and then up here we're seeing some volume, uh, but we want to see some of this bigger volume continue on up and start to buy some of it. There we get going. So there's that 26 level that we were looking for. E session's opening up right now. So if you've still got a couple lots on, you know, now's the time to make sure that you're managing some risk. Remember, we said that next level up they're going to be targeting will probably be that 32. That's where we get some volume, some resistance from that 32 to that prior high 39. All right. More single prints. So a couple of news things actually real quick before we jump into the lesson from today. Um, one thing that I want to bring up is what's going on with COVID, right? I know COVID's been kind of on the back burner since, you know, the war in Russia that's been going on. But we do have to, you know, make sure that we're paying attention to things like that. Hopium Jesus, good morning. Um, you can't get in? Can't get in what? Oh, you couldn't get in to buy? Buy at 38, sell at 39. Where did I execute that? I bought at 21 and looking for 39. One lot left. But basically China's back on lockdown, right? Because of COVID. So that's kind of telling us that it's you know, whether or not they're taking it seriously or we're not taking it seriously, it's not really the case. That doesn't really matter where your belief system is at. Look at that big volume, 2298 jumped up. That's what we were looking for, guys. But you know, regardless of where you stand on COVID, their country is locking down, right? And so we remember what happened when they locked down last time, right? Big, huge supply chain issues, and we're already seeing some of that kind of affect, uh, you know, some of the rest of the things, and especially today, there's some news out about China saying if the sanctions on Russia affect them, that they're gonna, you know, not be happy with the U.S. So you know, just something to pay attention to regardless, like I said, of where you stand on it, on the situation, the supply chain will get messed up if nobody's working and they're on lockdown, right? Trying to prevent the spread. There's a new strand of COVID called like AB or something, or A.B or something like that. Not sure what it is, but just something that you need to be aware of, right? Also, Russia has put some sanctions on Biden, right? Obviously, the market didn't care. They kind of took it as, you know, what are you going to do? You know, so the market just keeps, you know, tracking up. On days like this, right? We are trending. Pretty sure, you know, it's just one time framing since the open. Um, these are days, guys, that, you know, they're slow and they're kind of painful, but these are those days where if you end up on the wrong side of the market, eventually it's going to catch up to you, right? So if we're one time framing up, why start taking any short trades? Why not just wait for pullbacks to take long, right? And if this is happening to you, and this is kind of leading us right into our lesson, it's a FOMO thing, right? And so if you haven't grasped on why you trade against the trend, the reason is because of FOMO. Now you know, right? Coach Brad is here to push you in the right direction. But you know, unfortunately, I'm only streaming for about 2 hours a day ish, and I can't be your coach all the time. So today we're gonna learn how you can coach yourself and how it's necessary for you to coach yourself. And if you don't coach yourself and expect yourself to improve, you know, think about this like we've talked about. It's like a business. If you own a business and you hire an employee, and you know they show up on the first job and they're making pizzas and they're doing okay, but you know, over amount of time, they're just not making as many pizzas as you think they should be able to make. Well, where do you think the issue is lying, right? The only way you're going to know about something like this is if you're documenting it, or you might need to step in there and be like, hey, this is how you make a pizza. Let me show you the right way, the fast way. Morning, Patrick. So today we're going to talk about how you can give yourself constructive criticism at the end of every single day. And, you know, the main way, as I keep talking about, is journaling. And today we're going to talk about a different form of journaling, right? A lot of times we talk about, ooh, big trade lifting the offer there. That might have been a big profit right there. Now we're starting to see some orders hit the bid. Still strong buying though, and we're still seeing some gaps form too. But so at the end of the day, right, for those of you guys that hate journaling and don't want to write down any of your trades, what you can start to do is write down your feelings about the day, right? And there's proven psychology that, you know, people that talk about their day for at least 30 minutes a day are going to be are going to be more pleasant people to be around because they're understanding what's going on, right? And the only way to do that is to talk about it. Big 357 lot order sitting on that 33. Just trying to hold price down right here. And so one of the things that I found beneficial and that can be beneficial, and the only way that you're going to get to it is journaling, is at the end of the day, you start writing down how your trading day went and how you're feeling about it. And let's say you're writing it down and you had a terrible trading day, right? And you're just down on yourself and you're thinking, oh, I'm not going to be able to keep doing this. This is terrible. I'm not good at this. You know, I did this wrong. I did that wrong. And then, you know, you're kind of beating yourself up, but you're actually beating yourself up on paper, right? So you're getting it out of your head, which is where it sticks in. And then that's where it starts to eat away at. But if you write it down, regardless, write it paragraph format, shorthand, type it, you know, just get it out and then read it. And then as you digest it, you can realize when you're reading some of these things, you're like, you know, I'm not that bad of a trader. What's going on here? And this is going to kind of, you know, give you that ability that a lot of people don't really understand or realize, to take a step back and realize that's just one bad day, one bad game, one bad practice, right? Whatever it was, in order to keep you going. But what happens is a lot of times is nobody's writing these things down. No one's taking note of them. No one's tracking any progress. And so they just keep that inside their head. I traded like shit today. I traded like shit today. And then it's on their mind all day, all day. You know, that every time they talk with people, yeah, I traded like shit today. I traded like shit today. But once you put it out and realize it, it's going to give you that internalization that's going to make it not wear on one, just the rest of everything that you have going on that day, but your trading going into the next day, right? If that thing's still in your head and you haven't digested it yet, you're not going to be able to trade properly the next day with that kind of, you know, weighing on your conscience, right? So the key here, in order to be your own coach, which is, you know, a lot of times what you have to be, is you've got to start writing these things down, writing down these emotions, these feelings, you know, what's going on with your trading. Because if you're not, I'm telling you right now, it's going to affect your next day, and then it'll affect your next day, and then it'll start piling over and piling over. And then, you know, boom, it's going to start, you know, you're going to start to capitulate. Yeah, and that's a big thing too, Pop, is you know, there is external factors and other things going on in your life. And this is where for me, I you know, I write everything down. And it's probably just because of the army, because we get told to do so many things at so many different times that we basically just carry a book around, write down everything that we need to do, and then what I do is just put a little check mark, like a little square next to it, and then check it off as I get it done, right? And then I flip back through my book, I write the date on the top of the page, and you know, did I get that done? What else do I need to get done? At the end of the week, go back and look at the check marks that you didn't fill in, and try to figure out what happened. Why didn't you fill them in? And if you've got other, you know, circumstances going on in your outside life, outside of trading, those can easily affect your decision making and your ability to trade successfully. Look at the volume coming in up here, right? They're trying to convince people here to get short. This is the best time to stay patient here. Right, but they're trying to convince you to get short. They're like, oh, look at all the volume. It's above us. We're going to go down. And we might, you know, but
I think we're going to. But you scared
yeah.
the hell out of me right there, Brad. I'm not gonna lie. I like entered a short, and then you're like, they're trying to scare me, but I ain't trying to get them to go short. I was like, oh, I got out.
Well, I mean, it's just shorting here as we're one time framing up is just a more risky short, right? It'd be better to just be patient, wait for this pullback, and then buy on the pullback and buy for the upside until it starts to break the one time framing. And luckily for us, the way that the market's set up today is when it does break the one time framing, it's probably going to fill the distribution, and then we'll be back more looking, um, you know, at a double distribution day, right? We have our lower distribution in this A and B session. If we are able to close these singles up here, then it'll be a double distribution day, probably a little bit more rotation. Then they'll start to bring in more opportunity longs and shorts. But until these singles here, this third distribution gets closed, really we're in a trend day and so far, and you've got to trade it as such, right? You want to be trading smart. It is nice to, you know, catch a short off the high, but um, long term, you know, winning or taking these shorting trades off of the highs, a fade trade, so to speak, can eventually get you in trouble on high volume days. Today, you know, today's pretty choppy. Even the way up's been pretty ugly, but you know, it definitely. I think I mean, I think it kind of looks like we'll see. It just looks like backfilling so far. But the only way to know for sure is if, you know, they break that one time framing, right? That's how you know for sure. And there's nothing wrong with staying patient and, you know, taking patient trades. Believe me. Believe me. That what Trump always says, right? Believe me. Um, but so back to being your own coach, right? If you're not um coaching yourself and you don't have anybody else kind of helping you, right? Yeah, I help as many people as I can, but this is only 2 hours a day. You've got to be helping yourself throughout, you know, all day. And if you've got all of these other things on your mind, when you sit down to trade, they're still going to be on your mind, regardless of if you think that you're going to be focusing or not. The way to get them off of your mind is to write them down. Gets them out of your mind, and at least they're down on paper, and that way you know that you don't have to keep thinking about them because they're down and you can remember them when you look at them next time. And that's basically why your brain is bouncing around all of these thoughts, because it's trying to figure out where to store them and it doesn't know, right? And so once you write it down, it says, oh, I don't need to store that anywhere. He wrote it down. I can just look at it later and I'll remember it then. All right, on to the next thought that I have bouncing around in here. um you know, so there is ways, I think, to work on your self improvement, outside of easy ways too, to help yourself become a better trader, working on your self improvement that literally just require a pen and paper. Or, I mean, you're already on the computer, just pull up a Microsoft Word next to your TPO and just start typing in there. If you only have one screen, Well, perfect, because then you won't be distracted at all while you're typing, because you won't be looking at your trading screen. Nice 2-point long off the half back. Nice. Morning, Chin. You know, and if you feel distracted, this is why, you know, I was a big advocate for fidget spinners, is if you're sitting at your computer and you're feeling like, you know, on edge or that you can't focus on the market, one, you've got to tell yourself, okay, I'm not going to trade. Right? I'm not in the zone. Just today's not the day to do it. And then two, try to figure out the root cause of it. And the best way to do that, I think, is at the end of the day to just kind of unload all of that information onto a piece of paper. Right? Um, some would call it a diary, but I call it a trading journal. Right? Um, either or, it doesn't matter what you call it. Just has to be done. And I'm just gonna keep harping on it until everyone just does it. Right? It's gonna be like fucking homework. I'm gonna start checking journals at the beginning of class every day. Your journal? No? Like F. And I know it's tough at first, especially because it's like I don't have time to journal. I need a trade. I need to be on the chart. I need a trade, right? But if you're not journaling, there's no way to back test any of these things, right? And it's easy to look at a chart and we can go, oh, you know, fucking every time that Bitcoin gets below the weekly VWAP, I'm just gonna sell it, and every time it gets above, I'm gonna buy it. And you look at the chart and you're like, well, shit, that probably worked pretty decent, right? But in reality, at those exact times, under those exact circumstances, with everything else that's going on in the market and in your life at the same time, would you have executed properly in that situation? You know, there's no way to know. The only way to know for sure is if you actually did take the trade and journaled it. Then you can scroll back and be like, boom. Right? It's nice now, trading software kind of journals everything for you, but the only thing that it's not journaling for you is your thoughts during that, right? It tells you when you got in, what time you got in, how long you were in, right? Depending upon the software that you have, it tells you all kinds of stuff. Sierra Charts gives me, you know, all kinds of great analytics for my trading performance that I love. You know, one of the big factors on it is that I liked um the way that it breaks down how long you're in winning trades and how long you're in losing trades, right? Because that's a big key factor for me personally, that I found that typically when I stay in a trade for longer than 10 minutes, normally it's a winner, right? Um, but you know, that can be kind of counterproductive too, because then sometimes I get in a loser and I'm like, well, shit, it's been 10 minutes. I'm probably going to win. You know, so it's, here we go. Let's get up to that prior day. Is it so much to ask? I just want 39 and then I'll be done for the day. Like, real choppy back and forth here, though. Take a peek at the NASDAQ. So oil's down 7%, right? People are already talking about how oil's in a bear market. I'll just pull it up for you. That's why I love these terms, guys. It's bear and bull. Is like, they're like, holy shit, fucking, we're in a bear market. It's been 3 days. Crypto, or a bear market. I mean, people do it in crypto all the time too, but we're down 33%. But if we look longer term, right, and I'm gonna pull this into perspective for you guys real quick. Let's look at oil longer term, right? Oil's been steadily increasing since the negative that we had back a little bit after COVID, steadily increasing. If we look at it over time, you know, it's not like it hasn't been up here before, right? Here's 2010. I don't know if we can go back any farther than that. But look, it runs up high 2007, 2008, comes back down, and then it just balances back out, right? So I'm not a huge believer in this bear market that they're talking about for oil. I kind of see it really just kind of ping ponging back and forth between probably 90, 80, and 100, which is fine, you know, as long as it stays below 100 is really what we're looking for as far as help for the recession. this move today though on oil, or this past couple of days on oil, has been a reliever for the market. And the reason being is because, like we've talked about, typically anytime oil gets over 100 and stays over 100, it tends to lead us to a recession. Today, well, yesterday actually we got below it, and we've significantly moved below it now. Another thing we want to look at here is the 10-year. You can see it gapping up. This is something that we've been talking about, right? Still on the way up today. Try to ignore. So you can see, today looking to break yesterday's high right here. If it does, could get pretty bad. The VIX also coming down pretty hard today. I'd like to see it get below 30. That would give us a little bit of breath, a little bit of more room to this upside. Jared, aren't you glad you closed that short now? We're about to get to that prior day high. But, these are all things that we need to be taking into consideration on days where we are seeing a little bit more chop like today. I mean, today's a trend day, but today's like one of the slowest trend days I've seen in a long time. I mean, even with the volatility. And if you figure, 4178 is the low, 4136 is the high. We're in, what is that, like a 60 point ish range. Um, pretty decent move. When summer comes around, we're going to be wishing for slow up days like this. Is an uptrend day, even though we are still inside yesterday's range? Yeah, for the day it is, Tommy. Yeah. So we want to maintain perspective, right? And we do that by zooming out and then zooming in. And sometimes when you're zoomed in, what happens is you get tunnel vision, or like ultra focused. And and you get kind of like, okay, well, either yesterday you're like, oh, it was all shit yesterday, so when's it going to go down today, right? And then today we're inside yesterday's range. We're like, well, they haven't even broke yesterday's range, so it's probably just gonna fall back, right? But when we started to build this value above yesterday's value area high, and I can switch these and keep them switched if it's easier for you guys. Just let me know. Let me know on the Zoom if you guys like the red, white, and blue, or if it'd be easier to have it with value areas instead of these dotted lines, because these dotted lines are the value areas from the previous days, and I just have them on extension until they get broken. Right, so just an easy target we can see. But if you guys want to change them, no issue. Anyways, yeah, we still consider it an uptrend, but what we do is when we zoom out, we remember that we're inside balance, right? So as we're inside balance, we know that, I mean, we're coming basically right to the middle of balance here. At this point of control, and happens to be the prior day high, which is where that sell-off started from yesterday. There's probably a decent amount of stops up here too. If we get, they're going to target top of balance like 4,300 almost. Yeah, 4,290. I forgot. Yeah, we switched contracts, so it's a little bit lower. But so we remember that we're still in balance, so we're not getting long up here. And that's what I want you guys to remember. So if we're trending up, which we are today on the daily, but we're still in balance, we're not breaking out or breaking down. So this isn't just a close your eyes and buy situation. This is a, watch till we get support and take that thing long. Right? On a trend day up, right? If it was a trend day down, it'd be a little bit different. Right? But up here, we're looking at this volume, and we're waiting for it to come in. You can kind of see it coming in a little bit higher up here. So close. I feel like we just have to have it. But I mean, there's plenty of cases where this is it. Goes down. Another thing I wanted to show you guys today too was the VXX, which got halted today, and this is the reason I want to show it to you. The reason that it got halted was because they were unable to issue more shares, which is, I mean, kind of crazy. Oh shit. Facebook's on a tear. They were going down. Pull back. Something, maybe some news came. 93 children killed since the start of the Ukraine war. Zuckerberg's deposition blocked by judge in DC. That's why Facebook's selling off. There it is. Um, sorry guys, got a little bit distracted right there. Wanted to see what that pull down was all about. But yeah, so the VXX basically is supposed to track the VIX. But you know, you see it's obviously not tracking the VIX now. And they applied to get more shares or something like that, but they didn't. Something happened where it didn't go through, and they halted. They've halted 3 times today. They halted on the limit up, they halted on the limit down, and you know now they're back trading. But it's interesting that people are buying the VIX, and look at the markets going down. The VIX should go up when the market goes down. That makes sense, but people are buying this, and the market was heading up today. So almost like they kind of have some so there's the close of that distribution. So now we're in a distribution day. So now, and this is a lot of single prints on the top. I imagine we'll probably test a little bit of those. The sell off straight from there would tell us that there's a heavy seller up here, and he came in and just forced that market down. But it didn't. That's not what it looked like. It looked more news driven. But so when we're this thing is really trying to scan the news real quick. Things are just falling off a cliff here. Trying to see where the selling is at. Looks like a lot of coming off on Amazon. They were up over 3%. They're only up 2% now. Tesla's pulling back a little bit. Nvidia's still looking pretty strong. Over the heat map real quick. We can see, you know, pretty much the whole sector or the whole market looks pretty decent. Energy sector is really kind of the one getting beat up today. So too crazy. Let it settle real quick and then go back to it. The buying is getting pretty thin here though. Selling is thin as well. Volume. Still about 1% higher than yesterday on the volume, so nothing really too crazy here. Putin says Kyiv not serious to find mutual acceptable solution. So basically saying that the president of Ukraine isn't playing ball with them. That E is to that D open, right? Pretty mechanical. That D is 1 tick short of C. That's pretty mechanical. I didn't even notice that till right now. So right back to where all the volume was at. And if we zoom out again, you can kind of see this is where we had kind of gotten above yesterday's value area. We built all this volume and then pushed up higher. Didn't take that prior day's high. It's kind of interesting that we said it could always sell off, and then it did. Almost like someone's paying attention to our streams. But let's see if they step up here, if they want to try to get a piece of this, or if they've had enough. That's a pretty big move down. A lot of times, something like that, you know, really just is emotional, and it's better, in my opinion, especially on volatile days like this, depending upon your account size, to Kiev. My bad, I keep fucking that up. Kiev. I'll try to remember. I'm probably gonna fuck it up though, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I said Belarus instead of Belarus. Then I started saying Belarus because it really pissed my wife off that I was saying it wrong. Then I really started saying it. Funny. And plus, you know how we are in America. We just say whatever we want. Like, oh, I said it. It's a word. But let's see how they act here, right? You're getting some buying out of this. You're getting some buying out of all of this support down here and short covering at the same time. Right? You're seeing a lot of people that got short from up here trying to cover down here. And you're starting to see volume shift higher. Still have that single print below, right? We can't really sell the farm yet. And then they still have, honestly, still have this support down here for these single prints from yesterday's session. Didn't fill them. Really just used them as a launch pad. And then I just start blasting. Well, let's see what they've got here. Lord MacGyver, what's up? I saw record options expiring on Friday since 2019. Haven't heard anything about it. So there is a quad witching this Friday. So basically you have daily, weekly, monthly, and contract expirations happening this Friday. They call it quad witching because, you know, typically it tends to move the market a pretty decent amount. Not always, right? Sometimes quad witching is pretty boring. But what happens is you get a lot of market makers and stuff that are hedged certain ways, and depending upon how they're hedged, they, tend to have to unwind some of these positions or roll them over or get themselves in a better position so they don't just get stopped out, or so they don't get margin calls, right? This is pretty standard. It happens, a couple times a year. Um, the big thing is that you want to think about, and I'll try to explain it the best way that I can, right? The options things it's pretty confusing if you don't have a lot of experience, but so we'll just talk about puts and calls, and there's opportunities to go long with puts, or to, like, so let's say if you want the market to go up, you can use puts for the market to go up, and you can also use calls to market to go up, right? So you can buy a call, and that's basically saying you want the market to go up because that's where your price is at for your call. You can also sell a put. So if I sell a 2112 put, I'm expecting the market to go up as well because I sold somebody this put and I want it to go to, let's say I sold it for $100, I want it to go to zero, so I get to keep my $100, right? If it goes down, I have to buy the shares. um it becomes just kind of a pain, right? And you can do the same thing inversely to the downside when it comes to buying puts or selling calls, right? You sell a call because you expect the market to go down. You buy a put because you expect the market to go down, right? Market makers, though, the way that they make markets is they are offering things, right? So let's say at 42.30, they're offering a put for $100, right? They're also offering a call for $100, and this is the ask price, right? And this is deep in the money, well, out of the deep in the money put, out of the money call, right? So let's say all of a sudden someone comes in and they're selling these for 100, and they've got 50 on the ask, or 50 open interest, right? Someone comes in and boom, they smack all these puts and they buy them all up, right? Well, now, and it's a little bit different with futures, but if we're looking at a stock, if this market maker sells 50 puts, he's sitting on his computer and a little alert pops up that said 50 puts sold at this price on American Airlines, right? Well, now he's got to go over to American Airlines and buy American Airlines uh, stock in order to hedge against his position, right? And he sold these for 100. Well, the way, and I know this is kind of confusing, the way that these quad witchings get some of these market makers into pickles is because as a market maker, typically you're not out there offering, searching through the supply chain. I'll just bring us a chain over real quick so we can um, see this. Let's just look at Apple. Okay. Was that Stewie? Yo, Luis, what's up? 8:30, bro, every day, 8:30. Was that Stewie? What do you mean? But so let's look at this supply chain here, okay? Um, we can see this is how much the ask price is, how much the bid price is, right? We've got delta, high, low, implied volatility, blah blah blah. All this other extra shit that we're not really going to get into. Really, we're looking at the open interest, how many of them are available, and the volume. Okay, and so we've got 20,000 people either bidding or selling on this contract, and we've had 3,000 volume. And so what happens, or how these dealers sometimes get in trouble, is when some of these options that are deep in the money, and we can see the volume is pretty thin, and you have the volume on this side, volume pretty thin down here as well. But let's say this guy's offering these for 53 bucks, and all of a sudden somebody comes in with big money and goes, hey, I'll take all of them, right? He's offering 398 of them open interest, 50 have traded. Someone comes in, they say, I'll take the rest of those. Well, these are deep in the money. So these calls are not most likely going to expire worthless, right? This is saying these are Apple 100 calls, right? So chances are by April 14th, Apple's not going to be under $100. Could be, but chances are. Oh, you watched Alex's thing? Oh, I drew Stewie Griffin. Oh, dang, I should have. Yeah, Alex's video was awesome. Yeah, and if you guys haven't watched it, head over to the YouTube. It's recorded, and definitely check it out. I'll have to rename the video. Um, the ES is bidding up a little bit right now, guys. It pulled back down to where all that volume was at, and now kind of trying to catch a bid or lift an offer. Struggling a little bit here though. Honestly. Oh, I'm in a long position right now. So I gotta adjust this quick. I got one left. We're chilling. And so what happens is, sorry guys, I'm jumping around. This guy's got a hedge against these, right? So he just sold a bunch of calls that are going to be expiring in the money. So he's going to have to sell this guy, 398, let's just call it 400 times 100, right? So you can do the math. What do we got? 4 zeros there. So 40,000 shares, right? That's his hedge. So if he sells 100, if he sells 400 contracts, each contract is 100 shares, he's got a hedge with 40,000 shares, right? And so what he'll do is he'll buy those shares, right? But where's he going to buy them at? He doesn't want to buy them, he doesn't want to buy them for 150 and then turn around and sell them for 100, right? But the thing that he is using is this, right? So he gets some premium from selling them, and that's probably going to make up the difference. What gets them in trouble is when this price really starts to run. So if he sells these deep in the money calls and then boom, price starts to run, well, he doesn't have a chance to hedge. And so if we're looking at a chart, a lot of times what will happen, chart, Apple, oh, use the daily. A lot of times what will happen, you can see Apple's really gassing today. And we talked about this yesterday. When Apple gets below that 200, it kind of feels like people are going to buy it, right? It just makes sense. But so he's, let's say he sold all of these calls and now Apple's gassing and he's thinking, fuck, I need to buy these shares in order to cover myself. When he doesn't get that opportunity, that's where this quad witching comes in, and he's going to have to start covering that, right? And he's not going to wait until the end of the day on quad witching to cash this guy out. He wants to cover as much as he can, right? And they've got a lot more going on too. And this is just a really simple, kind of archaic explanation. If you want more, you've got a lot of information out there on YouTube, kind of how this works and how the market makers use to hedge. So, it's just it's a little bit different of a story, and they hedge a little bit differently than hedge funds do, or even just brokers in general, right? So let's say we have all these brokers, especially all these exchanges, and if we pop this down, you can see the option statistics today on the ES, and you could say, calls are obviously going to be getting more volume than puts. We can't say really bought or sold because you honestly don't have any idea until you really start to dig into the time and sales, which we'll look at next. But you can see that a lot of calls are being bought, right? Traded at the bid or below, a lot of them. So a lot of people are buying calls patiently today. And then there's some aggressive buying, right? And then there's some fools over here selling these puts today. But we'll go to just today's options, just to give you guys an idea of how these work, and we'll put the big quantities up top. So this morning somebody sold 18 March 22 135 puts, right? So if we look at the chart, 135 is down here and these expire on Friday. So why would somebody do that? And this was it wasn't even a spread, right? The only thing is we can't really see if it executed on the bid or the ask. Kind of stupid. But we just know that there's a put transaction here from Apple, and we can dig more into it with some other tools to see where it traded. It's not. I'm just trying to explain it right now though. But somebody's buying some 135 puts at 14 cents. So probably, right? Yeah, it's a huge volume, but look at the amount of money. And this is where people get confused when they start looking at options. Is like, oh damn, 2,000, but only 14 trades, only 14 cents. You know what I mean? Like you've got this much money in your bank account right now. $14 times 2,000. Like it's not that much money. But when you're going down here, 1,000 times 800, that's a pretty substantial position, right? And this guy bought 145 calls at 741. So as we go to look at towards what did we say? 145, right? Yeah, 145. So he's in the money. So he bought these deep in the money, and he bought them today. So he's probably hedging against, maybe some downside. But I mean, basically, kind of long story there turned even longer, but this is kind of how some of these dealers get into these issues when it comes to the market on quad witching days. You know, and I talk about this more in depth in the boot camp that's coming together when I talk about the auction market theory, because I talk about how these dealers go about it. So it's different for us, right? We are connected with our broker virtually. We see our broker offering, and a lot of times, back in the day, if and even if we're a big fund, right? Or let's say if we're a big order, and we're gonna buy 1,000 shares of these 145 at $800. Well, when we call our broker and be like, hey, I want to buy 1,000 145 calls. Guy says, okay, sure, I'll get you. And what's the market what's that? Whoever's making that market for you, and that's pretty much what happens is these big fish get markets made for them a lot of times. Well, they'll start buying the stock, run the stock price up, sell the calls for a higher premium, right? But like, hey, I got you filled, got you at these, blah blah blah. Here it is, right? And these are these. I mean, they're kind of like market makers, but really, they're just brokers, right? People executing the orders, whereas the market makers putting the spread out there and showing the spread, and then once you can see the spread here. Let's just look on the fuck. Is 18 March. You can see the spread here. Look, the ask is 219, the bid 218, right? Really tight spread here. As you get farther up the chain, the spread starts to get a little bit more, and then once we start to go vertical, it starts to get even bigger of a spread. But if they don't start buying these shares before, and then all of a sudden this huge order of 700 or 1,000 contracts hit the book, right? Hit that time in sales that we saw. And if we go, I'll kind of show you exactly how it happened. So we saw this 1,000 lot order hit 145 calls at 741. I don't recommend going to a minute chart, but just doing it so we can see it. It'll be actually 941. Now, so look at what happened here. You had this big order transact, all of a sudden, boom, the market shoots back up, right? And so I'm assuming if we were to look a little bit deeper in the time in sales, there was probably a lot of buying from market makers here. All of a sudden, they shut it off. It came back down. They bought it up again. And then once we broke this top, then you get the momentum players, right? So they sold these calls, hedged themselves, and then boom, the market took off. If we look at another one that would be good to look at today too, would be some option time and sales on Tesla to see what time these came through at. I mean, look at these deep in the money puts. I mean, this is $9,300. This is a hedge. 33 wasn't even on bed. I mean, you figure $9,000. These are $10,000 each. These are $10,000. 658. Head over to the chart, and you can kind of see all that chop around. They started buying shares, and you can even see a little bit. Probably touches barely, but a little bit of a gap with all of the momentum that started to come through. And the reason being, you look how early these executed. I mean, this is pretty much right at the beginning of the market. Less than 30 minutes in, you've got someone buying 100 contracts at $10,000. So there's a $100,000 order right there. That's a pretty big order, right? So if you do start to get into options, especially if you start to look at them on the futures, try to understand where the market makers are trying to hedge against, right? If we just look at these Wednesday options because there's going to be a lot of, oh, these are settled. Um, oh, PM settled. Here we go. Not really, a lot of, did it save it as 100? There we go. So not really any big orders on the ES outside of, you know, around the current price. Yeah, there's some put orders being bought. Yeah, 129 times 100 can be, you know, a pretty, it's a pretty sizable order. But if you look at where it's at, right? He's not really paying that much to sell these puts, right? Or to buy them as insurance in case this thing takes a crapper. And look at these calls that got bought this morning too. But yeah, so that's kind of, I know I really extended that story out like forever, but as far as the way that they go to hedge some of these positions is just kind of interesting. Interesting. Try before my brain explodes. And another thing I wanted to show you guys too is we're still, even though we are getting this nice upside for the day, we're still inside this kind of downtrend and a bounce off these lows. So this is why I always try to say it's important to maintain perspective, and the best way to do that is at the end of the day, just zoom out a little bit, maybe look at a daily chart, look at a weekly chart, look at the monthly chart, and really just give yourself that opportunity to say, okay, today was really down, but wasn't that down. Like, I mean, yeah, it felt bad. And this is kind of how we talked about last Friday, right? Last Friday felt so bad. Um, and yet, it really wasn't that bad. It was just, it felt heavy. That was pretty much it. Oh, so we're back up to that like 26, 27 area that we had talked about before. We're seeing the volume come back in, right? This was that little spot of volume that we had yesterday. See it kind of in the same spot and starting to get more volume here, which is probably just the change of hands, right? The people that were short just covering their last little bits here. Ding, ding. A lot of symbols getting added to, or actually, these ones were removed from fade futures. Just like a watch list that I have that I call fade futures. When stocks get um above or below their third standard deviation on the weekly VWAP, I like to at least look at them and see if there's opportunity for mean reversion, which is just like a pullback into balance. Was that you guys that was telling me yesterday that Elon said that he's gonna fight, or he like offered to fight Putin, something like that? You guys hear about that?
Yeah, he offered to fight for this state of Ukraine.
Badass.
Yeah, but I think Ukraine's probably got somebody a little more efficient than
Probably Zelensky probably beat Elon's ass.
XKGB versus Elon Musk. Yeah, I'm gonna.
I mean, Putin.
I don't think
Yeah.
Ukraine's going. Yay, that's a great offer.
Yeah, it's not like they called fucking Troy over from Brad Pitt, you know. All right, give him the sword.
Me and Brad have talked about this. Like Putin, he's about that life.
Yeah.
Definitely is.
Yeah, I just feel bad for the people of Russia. You know, a lot of them are suffering right now, and you know it. If you look back at the history of Russia since about like 1991, I think it was when they turned into Russia and not the USSR anymore. You know, it's taken a long time to uh, build up their economy and actually you know just get to where they are now. They do a lot. Yeah, Putin on the bear. That shit is comedy. Tell me that shit really is funny. Um, give me that 39 already. Um, Watch this 36 as a little bit of resistance. This is where the selling came in last time. This 36, 37 area. 39.75. I got my take profit 38 quarter. I'm just gonna try to front run this. There should be support. If it does pull back like 32.50, there should be some support there. There was a lot of buyers back there. Uh, okay. Oof, someone just gotta stop filling. Why 38.25 just in front of the level? Yeah, I'm just trying to front run that level a little bit. I'm just trying to get paid, basically. Because I expect people to try to sell that prior day high again, just like they did in that. I mean, the last time that E period, that flush on the E period was more news driven, and then F period we kind of see like a little bit of continuation, and then really just came straight back to where it was at. So it makes sense that we're just going to go up there. I just want to get paid a little bit before. I've added on a couple pullbacks, so I've got about 3 lots on now. But I'm gonna get paid on 2 of them if we can get up there. But so yeah, so the people of Russia are, you know, that they've spent all this time building up their economy, and you know, Russia's pretty much covered in ice, right? A lot of it, um, and not saying that you know is you know unlivable, but there is a lot of imports that they have to make. They import a lot of stuff to keep the businesses going in their countries, right? And you've got basically, I mean, every name out there. I don't even know if I can think of one that said we stand with Russia. Um, just kind of was like, yeah, we're gone. You know, McDonald. I mean, like all that shit is gone, and so all that money, because that's what you know. It's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. But if you go to you know some of these places that have money, they're gonna have a lot of these bigger names. You know, like if you go to think about where the Nike stores are at, right? If you have any cities near you that the Nike store, the actual Nike store is at, that city is probably pretty nice, right? There's one in Seattle, there's one in Portland, and I'm not saying nice cities because Portland's kind of a shell, um, personal opinion, but I mean, just the West Coast is turning into a shithole. All the fucking homeless people everywhere. But um, money wise, right? They've got some money. They're going to put these places in places that people have money. Well, if they take away all these places, well, the people that have all this money are probably not going to stay, and the people that work there to run all of these big places to make stuff for all the people that have money aren't going to have any fucking jobs. There's a lot of people in Russia, right? And a lot of people work for these corporations, right? Think about how many people Amazon employs, McDonald's, Nike, Facebook, right? All of these things. I mean, they're getting banned from fucking everything. They got banned from TikTok, right? Like, I mean, it's just crazy. And so these are the people, you know, I mean, obviously the people of Ukraine are suffering a little bit more, getting attacked, but I'm just talking more long term here. It's going to take, like, I just don't see a way out for Putin. He's done now. Like he made it. He crossed the line. He said, "Hey, there's the line." He said, "Fuck your line. I make my own lines." And it's gonna take some tough times. Luckily for him, you know, pretty much everybody is susceptible to greed, and with Russia having all of these people, there we go. They're gonna, it might be pretty easily convincing to be like, hey, Nike, you guys are taking a pretty big hit. Russia's a pretty big population, and now no one's wearing fucking Nikes anymore. So there's some opportunity there as well. Another big thing also that I've been tracking is the Chinese stock market. Let me find the internet real quick and pull it up. Take a look at this. I mean, you can see a little bit more green today, but this market, I mean, Baba, look how big Baba is, and Baba's down another 2% again today. If we pull Baba, um, this is going to be Baba trading in the US, but I mean, this is, let's just go to daily. But you're talking about a giant, right? This is the Amazon of Asia. Did I click 1 minute or 1 day? You see what I mean? It's not looking good. Not at all. AUCHANKK? What's that mean? HAN. Elon versus Putin would be hilarious. I just think Putin would fuck him up. I mean, judo is no joke. I mean, until, Holly Holm gets a hold of you and then just fucking gives you that head kick when you're not looking, changes your career. And I imagine that Elon probably, I mean, who knows? Probably some fucking secret wizard shit. His wife is a witch, so probably give him some spell to have him knockout punch or something. I don't know. Bullshitting. Why does that look blurry on the screen? Not investment advice. Please remember to like and share. And subscribe. Whoops. Yeah, if you guys could do me a favor, go ahead and smack that like button. Yeah, so Bob was getting down here, yeah, towards the IPO, tell me, yeah. I mean it really could be. And this is something that I've been uh talking about for a while, is to keep eyes on this, because this is kind of showing us, that supply chain issue that I was talking about. With China shutting down, of course Baba's going to be going down. Think about when, how much Amazon went down when we started having all these supply chain issues. Oh, Auction is a French supermarket chain in Russia that has left many people without a job. Yeah, that it's that's the unfortunate part, is like, and honestly, Putin doesn't seem like he gives a shit. He just has his goal in mind, and his goal is to just stick it to the Western states, and if the people of Russia suffer, it'll just be, he's basically just committed them to understanding that that's just something that they'll have to do. Forming a poor high here below yesterday's low, right? Get up there right on the 50. Are starting to pull back a little bit, but nothing too serious. Remember, I said if we pull back to this 32 level, there's some opportunity for some strength there. Um, Elon didn't say he wouldn't use an Iron Man suit to fight Putin. Yeah, I mean, he probably just has like some autonomous fucking suit where he. I wouldn't be surprised. Seeing buyers step up here from this 32 to 34. They're really trying to hold this level. Below that, if they give up that level, Probably heading back down to that 26, 27 area. But remember, this is a lot of times what they try to do. They try to trap, right? Soak up the liquidity. Everyone's like, ah, short the prior day high, short the prior day high. We're, a couple ticks below it. People are just trying to short mechanically. Um, not really not really a time for me to say, okay, I want to get long or I want to get short, right? If I want to get long, I want to wait back for that pullback to 32. If I wasn't already in a long, or this pullback down here to this 26, 27 area. Look for support there to try to get a, right? Remember, we are in a double distribution day, so you can kind of expect chop. We are inside yesterday's range. There's another opportunity to expect chop. So, is Elon Iron Man or is he Batman? Um, yeah, I know that's a kind of a crossover, right? I think Iron Man would be Jeff Bezos. I think Elon really truly does want what's best for the people. Um, so he would be Batman. Bezos is Doctor Evil. But was Doctor Evil wasn't rich though. Genius. So buyers turn it on right here. Come on, get up there. There we go. One tick is not enough. Give us the. Could cause us a nice little short covering rally with all that selling that we just saw. Oh my. Little absorption up here. Sellers trying to hold. Got 56 contracts trade on that high tick. Then his number two make his corporation to $1 billion company. Now I'm confused. Are you talking about Bezos or Dr. Evil?
Dr. Evil.
Oh, okay.
Don't you remember? Like
I haven't seen the movie in a long time, I'll be honest with you.
Dr. Evil was like one.
Okay, well they pulled back and once again.
It was 80 degrees yesterday here, and now it's raining all day. Yeah, Dr. Evil had the same exact rocket too, that's true. It was pretty much exactly the same. I wanted to take a peek at. So I added, you can kind of see it here. 17 things. Well, it's because of all the. I guess I'll just put it in red. That way we'll be able to see it. So basically, what I was trying to figure out yesterday, and I finally did figure it out, is how people do this. So we have our 200-day moving average. We'll put it on. And what I was trying to do was trying to figure out how many stocks are above the 200-day and how many stocks are below the 200-day moving average within the S&P. So here we go. S&P stocks above the 200-day moving average. Here we go. Interval is not actionable, only day, week, whatever. We're on the daily. So. And you can see, you know, only 37. I mean, not looking great, right? This is since August, and you know, this is a divergence kind of that we've been saying, even though we were going up, and then right here in January started to catch the rest of the market started to catch up, right? You had the overall market showing pretty much weakness. Apple, some of the bigger names kind of holding it up. Apple started to turn down. The market started to turn down. But you know, 37% of stocks, only 37% of stocks are above the 200-day moving average. Not great, right? And probably, if I had to guess, I would say all of them are fucking energy stocks. God damn. My dad's messaging me saying, "Are you going live today?" Same time every day. Oh, I didn't post the Zoom link. That's why. See, I told you guys. My bad. Same link every single. Right now. Technology and my dad are not close friends. There was a report that came out this morning. I also wanted to look at. There we go. So look at this selling that happened early on in this session right here yesterday. So 5 o'clock is the Asia Open. The selling that happened in reality doesn't really look like it was hard selling, more of just a liquidation of these people that took price up. And you can see where they caught it down here. Look at the previous day, real thin volume, nobody is selling. Buyers stepped up, price moved back up to value. Same thing here, price came down, buyers stepped up a little bit, bought it, and now we're getting back up. So these sellers up here are weak. I think that target might be up there. Bitcoin is tough here today just because of all the news, but we do have some stops lined up here that could push this thing up. A good buying time for crypto. Yeah, definitely opportunity. I really like this 31 or 39 136 level. It's helped us a lot. Helped us stay kind of on sides a lot. Right? I don't want to be getting short below it. Or I don't want to be getting short above it, and I don't want to be getting long below it, right? Just in case. So it's really keeping me on track as far as kind of my line in the sand. Oh, for stocks? I mean, yeah, that's the thing is like, so in reality, and if we go back, if we just look at the it's just easier to look here on the SPX because the contract rollover is not on here. Get rid of these for a second. So on the SPX, I mean, you can see here's the COVID low. We're up pretty high. We're down. We've pulled back, and this is kind of what everyone's talking about, the bear market. The reason being is because anytime the market pulls back over 10%, it's down about 14%. It goes into correction, and then once it gets past 15%, it turns into the bear market. I don't know where people get these definitions, or just based off of history, but whatever. One big thing people are talking about is this, and this is something that we talked about last week, or at some point, I think, is this crossover, right? This death cross, as they call it. And so if we go back, we can see death cross happened to be a great buying opportunity, right? Death cross, little bit more pull down, but some buying opportunity, right? Here we go, death cross, right? Buying opportunity. Death cross, buying opportunity. Death cross, buying opportunity. Actually, death cross trails us down. Nice trend down, and the 200 acted as resistance. So not such a great buying opportunity during the dot-com bubble, right? Not such a great buying opportunity during the 09 crash. So this is kind of what we have to think about. Is this more just reactionary, emotional, which it does seem like it, which would tell us, yes, this is definitely a good opportunity to buy some stocks. But then also, we've got to think about honestly, I think the reason that we are down so much is because the Ukraine situation. Yeah, we started to pull back because we started to price in these rates. And as of right now, the rates are still going down. So it doesn't make too much sense that the market wants to keep going up, because you're seeing these 10 years just start to, continue down, right? And typically, when these things start to trend down, they start to drag the market down because you get people betting kind of back and forth. And if people start leaving bonds, then they're going risk on. But if we look at, where's the 2-year? Where's the short term? What was it called? What was the yen? Here it is, ZT. But you can see, so the 2 years are getting just absolutely crushed, right? And typically when this happens, this is the market, right? Because it's a 2-year yield, so people buy 2-year bonds. Well, they're not getting shit in return for them because they're down a bunch. So nobody's buying them, right? So tomorrow when Powell comes out, depending upon what he says with the rate hike, if he does a surprise rate hike, there's so many variables that I would wait for the market to kind of settle before I start buying into my long term. But there's certain names like, Apple, Amazon, companies that you don't really see going anywhere. And on the contrarian aspect of that, I can kind of see Amazon, if we go into a recession, Amazon and Apple are going to start to tighten, right? If we're in a recession, not a lot of people are going to be upgrading their cell phone every year to the new iPhone, right? Verizon's not going to be offering that because not as many people are going to be buying new phones. People are going to be holding their phones. Remember back in the day when you were a kid and you had, well, shit, we didn't have phones. When you became an adult and you got your first phone, just kept that bitch until it stopped working and then got a new one, right? And then eventually, once you became a real adult, then you just buy shit whenever you want. Oh, new iPhone, I'll have it, right? Just got this one last week. I just need a new one. I need the new one, right? That's how Americans are. They just need new shit. But you know, if they don't have any money, they're not gonna be able to buy new shit. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Ultimately, it's just gonna be coming down to managing risk. But back to this 2-year, when this thing is getting crushed, and then we look at TLT, and TLT is also getting crushed, and TLT is tracking 20 years. Well, that doesn't make any sense, right? So which one is telling us the truth? And that's what we're trying to figure out. And I think Powell's going to clear that up a little bit for us tomorrow as far as what he decides the way ahead is. If we look at the federal funds rates, and let me see, find the Fed. Oh, here they are. Okay.
Hey Brad, I know
Yep.
you're talking about a lot of different things right now, but are you watching the market right now?
Yeah.
Oh, like what are you thinking? You thinking the upside's over or what?
No, so now that we're back to this 26 level, you'll look to see if there's some support. I mean, it's just a distribution, right? So we failed that upside. I mean, really just one tick, so poor high, 82 contracts on the top. There's a lot of support down here, right? I don't think I would really start looking for any shorts. I mean, there's some fades for sure, definitely, especially with any type of range like this. And I don't want to tell you guys like, oh, you shouldn't be taking shorts on this day, but in reality, I'm doing you guys a favor because with volatility being so high, yeah, we're having these huge ranges, right? Today we're in a 70-point range. But when it comes to the summertime, when we start to see a trend up like this and you start getting short, well, there is no rotation back in the summer markets like that or in the slower markets. It just goes. And so a lot of times what can happen is you can get yourself in a bad situation fighting the market. So for here, I'm still thinking that the upside is the right side until we start to, close that distribution. It's just a day where you just got to be patient and look for those pullbacks. So right here, this 27, 26, if we get some volume, I'd like to see some more continuation to the upside. There is this weak area here. So we could see some backfilling and then ultimately back down here in the F, or when F session came down, we saw all that volume come in again. And then from this 20 level, which we've talked about this 20 level for a couple of weeks, is really where that impulse from. So as it comes back down towards that 20, that's where I want to watch to see if they're going to step up again to buy it. But I'm not looking for any shorts right now, personally. I'm more looking for it to come back down here, buyers to step up, and then to get long again. I've taken like 3 long trades today.
Bitcoin just rejected on the daily and is testing the last 2 previous days value area high on the TPO chart.
Yeah, a little peak above, no volume, comes right back in. So look to see, so with the way that it's forming here, and if we get rid of the inputs and we just go on a 24-hour, you can basically see that the value is forming above current value. And so if they're able to hold this, even though there wasn't many buyers stepping on, they just keep kind of spending time around here, we should see some more upside. Walt Hooker, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate it, man. But I mean, one thing that will help you guys, especially once the market starts to chill out a little bit, is just understanding the trend of the day and just trading with it. And sometimes that requires a lot of patience, and sometimes you're gonna miss it, right? Because you're a little bit late to the party, right? That's why I recommend, even if you're not going to trade, just get up and watch the open, because the open is very telling, right? It can give you a lot of insight into what can happen. Not gonna. I don't like to use exacts, but what might happen throughout the day, right? And if you read the trade view, we talked about how if we open above these single prints, they could act as support. Well, I mean, they did. Not trying to say that I was right and I nailed it, but basically just because I had given opportunities or outlooks for both sides, which is what I do every single day, because we can't trade in a vacuum. And the real cool thing about futures is it doesn't matter which way the market goes, you can still make money. So you have to be prepared for both sides. So just looks, I mean, it really looks like it's just kind of slowing down now, doing a little bit of backfilling, and you're just seeing value form higher. So until we start to see some more value form yesterday into yesterday's range, I really don't, really honestly not a huge fan of any downside. Even though we saw it come quick, but it was mainly just a liquidation because we retraced the entire move and then some. And then putting this poor high here, just kind of is giving away this seller's position again. And what will happen is, well, what I expect to happen is if these buyers do step up and take us over the high of the day today, is we'll get some single prints inside the middle of value, which will just be, or inside the middle of balance, which is, just hilarious how sloppy this balance has been. I mean, just the price action for the past couple of weeks leading up to this Fed event, has just been, that didn't help at all, did it? Has just been kind of all over the place, right? There's not really any rhyme or reason to it. It's just kind of doing whatever it wants. But the key will be to pay attention to TLT and the 2-year based off of what Powell has coming out tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a fun day. I think we'll probably stay on all day tomorrow, to be honest with you, and watch the whole thing. So if you guys want to hang out all day, I'll probably be on all day tomorrow. Let me take a peek at the volume. We're seeing a little bit of things cool down, right? Nvidia's still killing it. It's interesting. I don't think they really should be. Volume's up still about 1%. Nothing crazy. I wanted to buy Nvidia, but I've been getting scared out. 218 is a good price for Nvidia, I think, but I'm still being a little bitch. Just because with China locking down and stuff, I mean, that supply chain. I mean, I know Nvidia doesn't necessarily rely on China, but a lot of these materials for a lot of these big companies, they outsource everything. So everything comes from a million different places. So if one kink happens in the armor, that shows the weakness, and then you get, these huge opposite moves by just an announcement, right?
That's why Elon started making his own chips for the cars.
Yeah, and Apple's making their own chips as well. But Elon did announce last night that the prices of Teslas in China are gonna go up, because of the supply chain issues. He doesn't want it,
In China or everywhere?
just China.
Oh, they made it sound like everywhere.
Yeah, they made it. Yeah, but it's just China. If he were to start raising the prices in the U.S., you'd start looking at that Rivian chart, or what's that other one, Jared? Whatever that other electric car company that's trying to compete with Tesla is.
Rivian.
Yeah, there's another one though.
Start with an L.
It's like it's a fancy one.
Are you thinking of Lucid?
Lucid.
It's called Bid.
Oh, Bit.
Bid that's backed by Warren Buffett. It's real big down in some of the South American countries and stuff like that, but high end stuff.
Right. Yeah, that's how Lucid is too. It's a more high end, and that's how Tesla started too. Tesla was a high end electric car company, but then that's why I really think Elon does want to help as many people as he can, because he made a car, fairly affordable. $30,000 for that car is actually not bad. And if you're in a situation where you don't have to drive 300 miles every day, that car can get you by.
Elon is one of the best people in our times.
Yeah, I mean, he does go. He does. Just a lot of people just don't like him, but just because he is how he is. You know what I mean? Like, he is just different. He really is. But I mean, he also has Asperger's, so.
I think he's like the best person of our time. I do, but I hate him because of what he did on Saturday Night Live to my Dogecoin.
Yeah, that's why most people hate him.
I still resent him. I mean, I respect him, but I resent him.
Yeah, we'll all be loving him, you know, when a nuclear war happens and he's like, anyone want to get on my rocket to Mars now, bitches?
Yeah, right. You'll be making big money.
It'll be like, anyone ever seen the movie Wall-E? Where the, no? You guys are missing out.
Yeah, I've seen
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Wall-E.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a good movie.
they're gonna ask for ex-military for security up on Mars. You gonna go?
Nah, I can't. Sorry, back's broken.
Old Rose Bowl injury. Like, oh, you played? Yeah, I fell in the stands 8 years ago.
I mean, it's just such a crazy world. So look at that. G period pulls all the way back down to that 20 for the most part, and then we got H coming right back up. Now they're in. This is more of a decision mode here. So buyers stepped up. Are they going to continue to step up, and we're going to see some more, or are we going to see some capitulation here and saying like, you know what, maybe we don't have the juice. Time to start closing this. Yeah, still no real crazy off. Elo bounce off that F open. Good call. Yeah, see, that's why I need to. Yeah, so good. Right off the open. So pretty mechanical low right there. And look at the H low right off that G halfback, right? So pretty mechanical, but we've seen mechanical buyers and sellers, really just take this market where they've wanted it lately. We saw it yesterday. We had some, or not yesterday, the previous day, real mechanical selling, then some liquidation. So now we're seeing mechanical buying, and we could see some short covering possibly towards later on in the session. Just one letter at the top and the bottom of the bar would be great. On the footprint chart?
Yeah. Sometimes I'm looking at the footprint chart and you'll mention like, oh, the F period or the E period or whatever, and I'm like, oh, which one is that?
Are you looking at are you looking at like a 30-minute footprint?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The Sierra chart settings are so all over the place. It's so hard to find anything.
Yeah, it takes a little bit to get good at it. I had to power through like 100 videos on YouTube. But I have like a plug in the back of my head, so I get to absorb information a little bit. People.
I'm kind of understanding it, but you still there's the option, like the different selections. It's just finding it is just hard because it could be in general settings, it could be in trade settings, it could be in chart settings, and all three of them would be appropriate. And
yeah,
there's hundreds and thousands of different settings.
yeah. The best thing you can do is just YouTube it. That's what I do.
Well, I do a search. I do it like a Google search.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's the nice thing about Sierra charts is their user manual is, I mean, it's extensive. If there's something that you want to do, someone's probably done it, and they can probably figure it out.
Well, I still haven't been able to figure out how to put a DEF on the top and bottom of a footprint.
Well, that would probably be like a coding thing. You could probably overlay it. You could probably overlay the study, the TPO study, but the thing is that the TPO study kind of dominates the chart because I was trying to make the TPO and then put 30-minute bars behind it to get my 30-minute profile on the right side, but for some reason it just wasn't working until somebody helped me out. I could not figure it out. So there's probably a way to do it, but somebody probably just, I mean, if you probably type the question into the Sierra chart boards, there's people in there that just answer questions like all day in there. I'm sure some coder probably has it figured out. I honestly don't think it's gonna I don't think it'll really change anything. If you're looking at a 30-minute footprint.
Up anyway. I just, it's just, do I dart my eyes up,
Right.
So,
Convenience, yeah, I definitely understand that. Yeah, that's kind of like, for me, switching to Sierra charts is more of just a convenience, and I got a good deal on the commissions, but the convenience of it is really just the overall dominating factor, because I put a lot of money into NinjaTrader. I bought, a lot of add-ons and then the lifetime license and a lot of stuff for NinjaTrader. I mean, thousands of dollars, but it's just not it doesn't work with the stream, so just all my data keeps freezing and freezing and freezing.
While you're streaming?
Yeah, while I'm streaming. Yeah, when I would trade by myself, it was no big deal. I don't know what it is. And even when I switch back to the desktop computer, I would assume, because my desktop computer is pretty beefy, it should be able to handle it no problem. But for some reason, whatever the like the API that NinjaTrader uses to pull the data was just shit. And NinjaTrader kind of pissed me off when they did switch and didn't or when Windows upgraded and they won't fix the API for me to be able to look at stocks, even though I paid for 2 licenses. So I could look at stocks on the NinjaTrader. So that's kind of rude. I didn't know that you could get a message from data providers saying that you are pulling too much data. I was digging pretty deep into historical data yesterday and got an email saying like, hey, if you do this again, your ability to look at historical data will get cut off for a week or something like that. So
What were you doing?
I was just looking at all kinds of charts, but I was just loading a bunch of charts like really far back, so pulling a bunch of historical data from the server on like a bunch of different charts. Because I think there's some opportunity here still with corn futures. Really what I'm looking at. You can see they took off today, but there's still, go to the daily. There's still some more opportunity once this thing chills out, right? We can see we've had pretty decent sized run up, and my thought process is after everything gets kind of figured out as far as with the war and the supply shortage and COVID and all these things, what's going to be left standing? Well, it's probably going to be commodities, right? And as much as I love gold, and you guys know how much I love gold, you still can't go down the street and shave give someone a gold shilling, be like, hey, keep the change, I'm taking these groceries. You know what I mean? People want the cash money, and if we go into a recession, people are going to start to hoard all that shit, right? All the dollar bills, and they'll start selling all their gold. And if a big supply of anything hits the market, what does price do? Price goes down. Well, I'm thinking more, what do people need to survive, or what's in every single product for the most part that you pick up on the shelf? Corn, right? Corn oil, corn. I mean, there's some form of corn. I mean, even if you eat steak, I think like 80% of beef in the world is fed corn, right? Um, so, I mean, there's just the opportunity. I want to let the novelty wear down a little bit. I did have a corn position on, but I've taken it off now. But I think there is some opportunity with some of these contracts longer term once the market starts to chill out a little bit. And then there's a big, I mean, if you guys have seen that nickel thing too that's going on in England, I'm sure it's probably on the news over there, Tommy, for you guys like all day. Some guy has like a huge nickel short, and if he, I mean, JP, I mean, people, the banks are in for about $1 billion with this guy. So if it gets fucked, JP Morgan's gonna get fucked too, and I doubt that they're gonna let that happen. They're kind of manipulating that. And that's what I expect with the corn. I expect the corn to eventually settle out, but then the takeoff. And if we, I mean, you can look at pretty much everything. The wheat futures, right? They're starting to settle out. What was another one? The S, yeah, soybeans. Soybeans are starting to chill out. This is another one similar to coin, right? There's a lot of soybean shit products in everything as well. I'm just looking for where things are gonna go, and where I can stash a couple of bucks and make a couple of bucks while the market's heading down. And if the war continues on, I don't expect the market to go up. And if Powell comes out tomorrow and does a surprise rate hike, even though it'll be good for the market will go down out of fear and then probably bounce back. If he comes out and he says we're only doing 25 basis points rate hike, and we're gonna slow down on our quantitative easing, then that could bring some, even though it sounds like good news, it's not going to be good news for the market. The market probably shoot up and then shoot down. So I'm just thinking more longer term. The same reason I've been talking about these Chinese bonds. There's an ETF that tracks stock market. Where is it? The yen? Well, that's the one we don't.
Thinking of the yen.
The yen is the currency. I'm looking for the bonds. There's an ETF.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, here it is. E-bond. So these are Chinese bonds, right? And I had been talking about this since COVID and been buying some of these Chinese bonds since COVID. And you can see we've been doing well. Well, now Chinese bonds are getting smacked again. So I think it might be an opportunity for round two. Here's the COVID right here. You can see we had a nice little run up on these Chinese bonds, even though everyone said, don't put your money in China, China shit, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's just because they weren't paying attention to where the currency was going during COVID. But we can see here on this nice little pullback, there might be some more opportunity for these Chinese bonds, right? And nobody really wants them because they kind of think China's not going anywhere. And, this move is because of, really China's shut down because of the new strand. But I'm more thinking longer term. I don't think China's going anywhere, to be honest with you guys. So as far as some of their bonds go, it's just a safe place maybe to stick some. I'm not saying today, but I'm saying there's gonna be some opportunity as we can see on the chart. There's a couple. I mean, there's a couple other ones out there too. Other ways to get into them. So watch this pullback here. We're back at the 20. This is where that big impulse was from last time. Only one tick below that G low. Not seeing a lot of. If we do get a liquidation, it'll probably be a straight break, and it'll probably just break all the way down. I remember we didn't visit that Globex point of control, so very prominent point of control down there that was unvisited as well. That's probably, and it happened to be on the settle. This is a level, if we don't visit today, that I'm going to carry forward until tomorrow. And then the rest of these prints as well.
Wait, I'm sorry on that, Brad. Are you shorting right now?
No.
Oh.
Got no trade on right now. OT. All right, Pop. We'll see you later, man. Another play that I was looking at too. Kellogg's. Right, they got beat down. Now things are starting to rebalance. You know, people are starting to understand that the wheat thing is really not as big of a deal as it used to be. You know, the wheat thing really. I mean, you really got to look at where you got to search up some supply chains and see where Kellogg's is getting all of their wheat from, right? I think a lot of the companies that are going to suffer from it are people that are not as big. Kellogg's a pretty big company, and so I think once wheat balances out, there might be some opportunity for Kellogg's to catch back up. But if we look at Domino's, that was Domino's, but that was the New Zealand one. Pizza. Where is Domino's? There it is. We can see Domino's Pizza's been beat down pretty bad, and if the wheat prices continue to go up or continue to balance up, Domino's is not gonna do very well, and they've been getting beat down kind of on this wheat news because most of their products are made out of wheat, right? Pizzas, and they're not a very big, not as big as something like Kellogg's at least, even though the stock price is higher. Domino's could get beat up pretty bad, but the thing I want to bring up about wheat is that yes, Russia exports, 10% of the wheat or whatever it is, but none of that comes to us. You know what I mean? And Domino's being an American company here is probably not going to suffer, but over there, pizzas are going to become more expensive, right? I don't know if you've ever had a pizza in a different country, they're different everywhere you go, right? In Korea, pizza's like really sweet, tastes like shit. On the East Coast, pizza is really good. On the West Coast, pizza tastes like you made it in the oven. It's just different everywhere, and it's all honestly probably based on the water and how the wheat is made. But I think there is some opportunity with some of these wheat stocks getting beat up so bad for some plays back to the upside. Kellogg's being a stronger company, and if wheat starts to balance, opportunity. That's another thing too. Like, I don't understand. Yesterday, Biden said that, well, one, he said oil was Putin's fault, which we all know it is, right? But he said gas prices aren't going to go down even if oil starts dropping, and so that's what's that?
You gotta have that Trump meme where he's like, wrong.
Oh yeah. But the thing is, if they keep it around these 90s, you've got to think about how fast this went up, right? So gas prices had to catch up, and this is not very long ago, February 28th, right? Gas prices were at this exact same level. So we're talking, 15 days ago. Got up. Gas prices hit 130. As gas prices are coming down, or as oil prices are coming down, gas prices are going up. Oh, okay. As oil prices are coming down, gas prices are going up because they're trying to catch up, right? They're trying to catch up to this new price of oil. So they've got to raise, because you don't sell based off of what you got it for. You sell based off of what you're going to be getting it for on your next, next shipment, right? And if they're already telling you, hey, this oil that you're going to be getting is going to be a lot more expensive, well, then you're going to go ahead and start raising up gas prices. And so, of course, yeah, they haven't come back down yet. And I don't think they're gonna. I think they're probably gonna balance, because you have a lot of oil companies. America is not really a huge importer of oil, a big exporter of oil. But you have a lot of companies that are, see the opportunity to make more money selling outside the United States. And that's where I talk about that forever. That's why the government subsidizes energy producers and farmers and things like that. And then what happens is monopolies start to happen, these rifts start to happen, and then we start to get squeezed, and nobody really pays the price except for normal people like yourselves and I. Got to go to the pump and pay fucking. Gas at my dad's house is like $7 a gallon, just down in the Bay Area. So up here by me, it's like $5.50. Peeking at some news here, seeing if we can see anything. Take a peek at the volume. Probably starting to see, yeah, it's a little bit decreasing here now. We can see we started off down, and this is when the NASDAQ this morning, no one wanted to buy it, and then all of a sudden people just really started jumping in, buying it. But you can see kind of just trailing off here. We picked up a little bit on those two pops, but now we're just trailing it back down. James George, yeah, Los Angeles at $7.50. Yeah, it's crazy. It's just crazy, man. And then you want to know who's really suffering, and that's what I was talking to my wife about yesterday, is all of the people, at least in my experience in the Bay Area, a lot of these people that live in the Bay Area don't live my dad lives like right in the middle of the Bay Area. His commute to work is really short, but a lot of people live 60, 90, 100 plus miles away from the Bay Area, and then work there, and then drive or commute that so they can live outside of their means, right? So they can drive a fucking Tesla or drive a $80,000 Escalade and then drive that thing in. Well, with $7 a gallon, I bet the BART train is probably going to get a lot more attention now too, and some of these buses, because a lot of the extra money that people are making from gas being $3, basically it's doubled in the past month, and that's going to cut into their paycheck. And what they might start doing is saying, you know what, fuck that, because I hate that goddamn drive, and the only reason I make that drive is for the money, and if the money's getting cut out by gas, I'm not making that fucking drive anymore. And then what will happen? We know. Migration, people start leaving. We've seen this game before, I feel like. 2008 or pretty similar situation, just in a different spot. Also, one thing that I was reading yesterday that makes me think of 2008 is that JP Morgan is what they were either buying swaps or selling swaps on that nickel play. I have to don't quote me on that because I'm not 100% sure if it's true, but it just they're selling swaps on something. I'm going to look more into it at the end of the day today, but that's kind of what caused that housing crisis. Is there was a lot of swaps getting sold, and swaps are basically like insurance. So basically, they're not confident in that position, so they're getting insurance on it. Smart. So look at that. It just comes down. We had a couple light blue spots on our profile. We still have the one here, but we had one up here, one down here, and now we've just kind of filled them in, right? A little bit of backfilling here. That's all this is. We repaired that weak low down here. We still got a weak high, still got a poor high compared to the other day, so a weak high. Right here kind of in no man's land all over again. Biden's going to be in NATO next week, NATO headquarters next week. And I was also reading there's a lot of money on the line for Friday this week. Couple couple $1 billion for that quad witching this Friday. Hey Clipper, yeah, we could definitely look at Apple. You can see how it really just came right back in. This zone is old. This zone was from the breakout. This is an old zone. I hadn't looked at this chart today. Let's go to the daily though. An old zone. Crazy how market structure works sometimes, guys. Especially when you look at a chart you haven't looked at in a while, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit. Yeah, so I mean it's coming down to some supports, and you can kind of see prior, because when I was trading Apple for a while back and forth when it was doing this, because I was just kind of like buying and then selling and then buying and then selling, just back and forth, back and forth. Let's see where that 200. This is what I like about Apple, is that it did get below that 200 moving average and then really just got, kind of bought up big time. As far as a divergence, I mean, it's really tough to say because Apple's still down pretty far on the year, right? We're looking at right here about 15% from the high. So I don't know. I'm not really jumping on the bull train yet. You guys know that, I mean, I love myself a long trade, but with if there wasn't a war in Ukraine, believe me, I'd be in there like swimwear. But with the war going on, it just really puts a damper on the dip buying, I think, for me at least. I do like this level as support though, 150, very round number. Yesterday it cost you 10 euros to fill your Yamaha. Damn. Shed a tear for that. Yeah, I mean that's like last week when I was filling up my Altima, I looked at the thing, it was like over $50. I'm like, God damn, I don't think I ever spent $50 on gas in my life. Pretty much always driven a car. And a car that's good on gas. I don't really spend a lot of time in a car, so I don't really see the reason to spend a lot of money on a car. I'd rather have nice shit inside my house that I'm gonna use all the time. My wild cat is just staring out the window because it's raining. Like things to kill, but I can't get wet. We're seeing the market pull back down here a little bit. Let's see if they go for this distribution. I was kind of thinking if they break this, it's just going to be a quick liquidation, and this thing might pull back pretty hard. That 4,200 level, right? 4,200, 4,296 should act as a little bit of support. You can kind of see where the volume came in right here this morning. So that should act as a little bit of support. A lot of times, this is where big money is long from. They'll buy some more to push it up, but most of the time they're just covering here. And then if it comes back down to here, it'll be basically their opportunity to either buy or sell. But yeah, Clipper, to get back to your question about if this is bottoming out, it does look like it, and I'll be honest, like I do think yeah, Apple has been acting as a bellwether. That's true. Yeah, the macro, yeah, it seems stable. I think that, I mean, Apple really has been kind of lagging, and then all of a sudden it started leading. But I mean, if we do, it really does look like a bottom. When I'm looking at it, it looks like, okay, this is a time that we're gonna get an opportunity for people that didn't get a chance to participate in COVID, that, you know, they might get a chance opportunity. I don't expect as big of a rally, even if they announce the war is over. Like I said, I don't really think we get above 48.50. It's crazy to think that's where we were at, right? We were way up there. I don't really think we get above 48.50 this year. So even if we do finish this year green, I don't really see it being a huge gain, huge green year as far as percentage wise goes, but I don't know for sure. So, but it looks like it's acting like it wants to bottom. The only thing is that war has just really got me, you know, because if Putin just fucking accidentally lets a round fly into Poland and it hits a Polish person, well, that's UN, you know, so then it's fucking on. You know, and we're not doing him any favors by antagonizing the shit out of him. It's almost kind of like the UN just wants to go in there and kind of start smashing stuff. It'll be interesting to see where the currency goes in the future, and with Russia being a huge superpower and this whole thing kind of going on, if they don't recover, and it's going to be tough for them to recover, at least to get close to back where they were, because they were, I mean, back in the Cold War, they were basically fucked. That's why that Cold War had to end, and you know, they built their economy back really well, and now they're kind of fucking it over again. So who's going to be there to pick up those pieces? Their next door neighbor, China. Yo, Nimrez, what's up? Do you think the Fed tightening will ultimately keep a damper on the market? That's the thing, Clipper, is Powell is kind of in a fuck situation where if he decides to keep tightening, it'll be good for the market, but it'll be taken as bad news. And then if he doesn't tighten, it'll be good for the market, but the market will come down. If he doesn't, Apple's coming to key support right now too on the 30-minute for the day. So we had this area yesterday act as support here. If it doesn't hold as support, Apple could start slipping and the rest of the market could start going here. But if he doesn't tighten, right, or doesn't keep, let's say he says that they're only going to do 5 rate hikes when we're pricing it. I mean, we're pricing in more than 7 right now with that 2-year rate being so low. But let's say he just says he's going to price in the 25 basis points, and he's going to commit, or he's at least going to say, you can't really commit until it actually happens, but at least he's going to say that they're only going to do 5 rate hikes or something like that. Well, he's going to lose all of his credibility because he either has to tighten and bring the market down, or he either has to ease and inflation is going to keep going up, but he has to do it in a certain way. It's a very tricky situation where you've got to deflate things without like pulling into a deflationary episode, which is what everyone was worried about in the beginning of COVID. And then you also have to worry about stagflation, to where all of a sudden that everything just gets stuck and our growth just goes away, which is what we don't want as well. So he really has to, that's why I say he's on a circus act, because he's got to walk a tight rope tomorrow and answer questions very, very well, which he does, because, he's a lawyer. What lawyers do. They read the fine print, find the stakes. Right, can you use volume? Yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely, yeah. EDF. Yeah, we could look at ETH too. Is it this one? Double R, is it this one that you're talking about? But yeah, Tommy, if we break through it, so you got to think all these people are long. If we break through it and then come back to it, most of these people probably covered or probably out, and somebody took their position, right? So now somebody's short from here. So if it comes up, they should try to hold it. If not, it'll typically run through. Okay. Looks like it, it looks like it's setting up on the daily. It looks like it actually kind of peaked above here and back in, but didn't pull back down. What is it? Oh, it's an energy. It depends on how they play. This actually might be a decent opportunity to get in here. This trades on the US exchange. It depends how they play. It depends how they play this energy crisis that's about to happen over in Europe. Is it an ETF? Or do they actually have like are they actually like an energy managing company? Yeah, for sure, Clipper. Yeah, I always try to look at things from both sides. Well, actually, yeah, from both sides, so so I don't get too biased, because I can get pretty biased. Certain things. You guys see that Tom Brady's going to the Cowboys? I'm just kidding. Everyone's like, bullshit. Pulled their phone out, fucking started Googling. I was just kidding. Be dope though if he did. Trade Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, little Herschel Walker replay, 1988.
That's why I called you yesterday about Tom Brady.
Oh, because you thought he was going to the Cowboys?
No, because dude, it's so messed up what he did, like coming out of retirement.
Why?
Dude, did you hear about that guy who bought his last touchdown ball for $518,000?
Whose fault?
Told that story. That is so crazy. That guy's fucked.
That's what he gets for spending so much money on a fucking football, dumbass.
Dude, I read one thing, and I don't know if it's true, but if it is, it's the most G move I've ever heard. I heard that Tom Brady wanted the ball, so we offered him $1 million for it, and the guy turned him down. So that's why Tom Brady's coming out of retirement.
Oh, just to piss him off? That's kind of funny then.
Like, just to make his ball like worthless. I was like, oh my god, if that's true, that's like the most G move I've ever heard.
Well, the guy that had his last touchdown pass, they did get back something like that, and he got like season tickets. He got hooked up.
No, yeah, but that guy sold the ball.
Yeah, he gave the ball back.
Yeah.
Yeah. $1,000,000, you could have the ball. Fucking piece of leather. Could buy a brand new ball for fucking, 80, 86, $90. Like,
It's the sentimental value, Brad. Now it has none.
yeah, see? Dumbass.
I love Tom Brady.
Waste. You know who has the most like collectible shit that's worth the most money in their house? Other athletes. And you know how much they paid for them? Probably not shit, because they were given to them by the other players. you know? But if you've got like all kinds of money, you buy stuff like that as a store of value, you know?
When you're a multi-millionaire, Brad, are you gonna buy a bunch of Dak Prescott stuff or what?
What the fuck? My boy wins me the Super Bowl this year, then maybe, but
Bro, they'll be lucky to go 8 or what is it? They'll be lucky to break even.
no, the NFC East is so fucking weak.
So
Uh,
are
I mean, what?
I've been trying to bet on UFC. I just started recently, and so they matched my deposit 100%. So I put in 600, and I used all their money, and I only won one bet. So now that we're playing with my money, we're doing it a little bit more serious. So I have a nice parlay in for this week, and we'll see how it goes. I'll let you know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that fight last weekend was underwhelming for sure.
Oh, it was so slow, the main event. Thiago Santos needs to go home with that shit. He has got no knees.
Yeah. Let me get back on this EDF real quick. Because Double R said his phone cut off. So basically, I do see like there is some opportunity here, and depending upon how the company plays, the pretty much inevitable energy crisis that's going to happen in Europe here, in the next coming months, years, this could be a decent opportunity to get in with a company that's really not that old, right? The inception back to 2005, so the company is not that old, but they've got some time under their belt. So I think there is some decent opportunity there. Probably gonna range a pretty wide range here, like this, I imagine. And then once that energy cut starts to come, people start pouring into safer sectors. I'd have to dig more onto the internals of these energy companies, because I really only like to jump into energy companies that I know have a monopoly. Because if they control the energy, they basically control everything else.
Dude, I want to keep believing in this upside too, right here, but it's just not sold. I think we might be heading down. I think we might break some lows.
Well, we're one time framing down now, so that would make sense. One time framing down from that G high.
Yeah, but we haven't broken that level of support around the 4210 area, and that's what I want to see.
Yeah, if they fill this distribution, then you'll know for sure you have some downside. You've got 115 contracts that trade on that 0850, so really, really light comparative to the rest of the day. And if you were to just split this profile right here, you can see a pretty balanced profile up here above these single prints, right? It's looking a little bit weaker than what are we on daily? A little bit weaker than Bitcoin for some reason. I don't know why, but it has been basically just holding its edge similarly to the middle of balance, but on these up moves, they're really just kind of weak, and they end up dying out and really haven't made any substantial moves on ETH in a while. And if I were to draw amazing triangles, we always know that they always work, you'd see getting pretty tight, and it's going to have to make a decision. And if they don't shoot to break some of these highs, it's, I mean, you're probably, if they break this high, hopefully they can keep holding support, and I mean, it eventually it'll start making higher highs if it keeps holding the support on the way up. But I'm not really expecting like this huge breakout up above like the 200 or back up into our upper balance zone up here. I'm honestly more of a believer in Bitcoin than in ETH. There is some trading opportunity here though to both sides really, because if we do break below here, go back to the 30 minutes, you can see a little bit closer. You have a lot of stops getting lined up from these past couple of days. Right, stops here, stops here, stops here, and then leading back to our trend line, stops right at the low and then right below it could cause some downside. But I kind of expect ETH to just hang out, you know, kind of back and forth really, unless some news events tries to drag it down. Same thing with Bitcoin.
A touch of the trend line is my entry. I hope it doesn't go there.
I hope it doesn't too for you. The ETH. This is just telling us that ETH is stronger or weaker. Can it put us in a percent?
On the bottom right of the screen. It says percent log auto.
Oh, here we go. So ETH's outpacing by 1% is what this is telling us for the past day. And it's about even the past week, I guess. Maybe it just seems like it on the chart. I guess they're about even. For the past month, been a little bit weaker. Basically year to date. I mean, 1% is pretty close to even in crypto world.
Brad, I feel like ETH follows Bitcoin and then Bitcoin follows the ES.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're starting to see a little bit of divergence, which is actually good for crypto and showing some acceptance in crypto. As far as there we go. As far as like people actually buying it, because I'm actually meeting a lot more people randomly that will be like talking about crypto. They will have a monopoly on the nuclear energy in the UK, but that's not due to be finished until 2026. Perfect. They're cheap as fuck now, bro. So that EDF, I need to figure out how I can. I'll dig more into it and I'll send you some stuff. Ask my buddy about it. Buddy that's big on stock stuff. Let me just send him a message real quick so I don't forget. Computer's so fancy. Like you need to capitalize French. Another question. Do you use the weekly VWAP? I had the daily, weekly, monthly on my chart for a while now, but it seems price does often respond at those levels. Any thoughts? Yeah, I still use them. I really like the weekly VWAP for crypto. The daily VWAP for crypto is kind of just all over the place, and you would kind of have to set specific specific VWAPs for every session. Really, I think that would probably be more beneficial. But I've been just sticking with the weekly VWAP on crypto. I do the same thing on the ES. I still like to see where the VWAP is for the day, and then also the weekly VWAP. Really like. The ES is getting, I mean, not really seeing a huge volume. You would expect if we're gonna trade down here, we'd start to see a volume increase, but we're seeing about a 35% decrease right here, as you can see, 35% down, or 1.5% to 35,000, 1% down. The biggest, almost the biggest move of the day, volume wise. So you would expect to see an increase, and we're seeing a bit of a decrease. Dang, she's trying to find a station that has petrol. Damn. This happened in 2008, 2009 in the US. The fucking oil basically ran out. You'd have cars like around the block at certain stations trying to get oil. Or trying to get gas, I mean. Or petrol. Oh, what's her name's on right now asking about Russia. Here, let's see if we can play this. Share the sound so you guys can hear this.
And how will it impact any of you, if at all?
Sure. I would first note that President Biden is a junior, so they may have sanctioned his dad. May he rest in peace. The second piece I would say is that won't surprise any of you that none of us are planning tourist trips to Russia. None of us have bank accounts that we won't be able to access, so we will forge ahead.
More on the sanctions were imposed today by Russia against yourself, President Biden, other top U.S. officials. Do you have a response to that? And how will it impact any of you, if at all?
Sure. I would first note that President Biden is a junior, so.
Oh, this is a clip. My bad. He's on live right now. But that was the live one. They don't have any other accounts anywhere. Did anyone buy that?
I'm pretty sure that was a Trump shot.
Yeah.
Who's got their money in Russia? You know?
Jen Psaki's got the shittiest job. She's got to big up a senile old man. How the fuck do you do that?
Yeah, she does. I mean, she does a pretty good job, dude. She's a spin doctor over here.
She's pretty good at deflecting. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, and she gets mad too and starts like getting into people. I like that kind of stuff. Like, well, honestly, when Biden called that one dude a stupid son of a bitch, I was like, hey, it's kind of a stupid son of a bitch. So, you know, just saying it how a normal person would say it. Because, I mean, can anyone really say that they've never called someone that? I mean, maybe some people. Probably Trin. Trin seems like she's got a heart of gold, so she probably never did. But other than that. Opie. Next time I come to Vegas, Jared, I'm gonna bring Opie. Let her fucking play with jacks.
Hell yeah, that'd be dope.
He taught me how to climb. Was a poor scump. Nobody got that.
I got it. Said they'd take me anywhere.
I taught her how to dance. Yeah, so the market's just getting pretty slow, guys. I'm probably gonna catch a workout here. It's about, oh damn, it's already 11. This daylight savings time has got me all messed up. But yeah, so I need to get a workout in. I'll probably be back on the computer in about an hour. If anyone's on and is looking at the market, just shoot me a message on Discord. I'll be hanging out. Other than that, you guys have a wonderful day. We'll do some zones real quick. Really what you want to do is look for it to get above volume, backtest long, backtest long, backtest long, right? And then target that poor high up there. Below, if we get below these single prints, look to see if we can stay down here, unless a huge liquidation happens. But you want to see price stay down here, because when you have these really thin volume areas, price can easily come down here and not get traded anymore. It didn't get traded that much early on, especially around here. So if it comes back down here and no one comes down to sell their apples, even though it's getting close to the end of the farmer's market, price is just going to run back up, right? So be careful of the old razzle dazzle. As we've seen the market the past couple of days really been putting the moves on, like they've been watching Harlem Globetrotters, you know, what do they call it, training camp. Yeah, other than that, you guys have a wonderful day. I appreciate everyone tuning in, that tuned in on YouTube and like the video. We've got the Fed tomorrow, and I'll probably, this is why I do, I always say I'm going to stop, and then I'm like, all these things come to my head. I'm like, all right, let's just check it real quick. I want to look at the economic calendar before we get off. So tomorrow, we've got retail sales at 8:30, import, export at 8:30 and then 10, and then big oil report with the Fed tomorrow afternoon. The report will come out about 30 minutes before the actual press conference. The start of the press conference will just be him saying shit that we already know he's going to say, because it's going to be in this announcement. That's why it's going to be important to be on the computer to watch that. But then on Wednesday, Wednesday we have the jobless claims, and then the Fed balance sheet comes out Thursday we have the jobless claims, and then the balance sheet that comes out, and the Fed manufacturing index, right? This is what everyone goes crazy about, the PMI, the inflation report. This is what's going to tell us if inflation is above or below 7 or 8%. Yeah, that's what we're crying about, fucking going outside, so he's gonna go. But this is what everyone's looking at, and we can see, well, it's not actually showing us the old reports. Oh, here it is. Look at the range they're giving this thing, right? And this is kind of why everyone's worried about this report. And this is going to lead us right into Quad Witching Friday, which could offer some opportunity or some heartbreak for some people. But yeah, I'll be eyes on the computer and ear to the ground for any noise a lot this week, trying to find out as much as we can find out. And then I'll just share it in the Discord. But yeah, you guys have a wonderful day, and make sure you are managing risk, sticking to your trade plan, and I'll see you guys later.
Thanks, Brad.
Mm-hmm.